Good afternoon and welcome to Padre's Ponderings.
Welcome. Beautiful day in the Low Country. Praise God. You know what I saw on my window this morning? This little machine out there that outlines the football field and puts the numbers on there and everything. That is slick.
Isn't that something?
Hash marks the whole thing.
I don't know how they program it, but the coaches are out, or the athletic director is out there watching to make sure it's operating correctly. But gone are the days of, remember?
Oh, gosh, the chalk lines and the bags full of that stuff. Lime, calcium carbonate.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Those are long gone. I don't know what it's putting out there. Is it?
I think it must be a similar substance.
Is it like a powder?
I think so. It's paint? Wow, we have updated.
Well, anyway, it was neat to see it. It was neat to see it.
Have you ever seen the Rumba lawnmower anywhere around town yet? I've seen it outside of Sun City, or Margaritaville, and it's a robot lawnmower. And it's about the same size as the thing out here.
Really? Wow. Directly, you're going to be wondering what people are doing.
What are people going to be doing?
With the AI have taken all that, man, AI and robots, watch out. Adam and Eve would be greatly surprised, wouldn't they? What is the fruit of all of this? Robots and AI. So what's up in your world?
I just got some baptism pictures back from the river baptism. Linda Laird and Susan Ball, for the past, I think, 3 or 4 years, they've been taking pictures for us on the bluff of people getting baptized. And so some of them will be in the e-news this Thursday. But it was a great day on the bluff. Yeah. And I have no idea how to do attendance. We keep attendance of services. That one's a hard one to gauge. I know how many people were in the water, but
I would say 300 to 400, something like that. Mm-hmm. I was amazed at the number of participants who came inside the church while I was doing the vows with the candidates and their grandparents, parents, stuff. The number of people in the church was just amazing. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, they all went out the front door. Everybody else went out the side door. So 300 to 400, somewhere in there.
It was a great service. It's one of our favorites. There were people lined up on the public dock watching, and people in boats.
Yeah.
So it was just a beautiful.
And Charlie had the sound rolling out there, and Howard was singing along, and those old songs. Mm-hmm. Yep, it was very, very special. So the next big event coming up like that would be confirmation. Would be that, right?
Yes, so Strengthening Your Journey, registrations are still open for that. We have a lot of people that are moving from rooted into confirmation. We have a lot of people that were baptized or recommitted over the weekend, and they're rolling into confirmation. We have a lot of people who have joined within the last year that are wanting to learn more about Anglicanism and our church. So lots of people have signed up for that, and we'll take more.
That starts the second Wednesday? No, the second Sunday.
September the 8th, I believe.
Second Sunday in September, 5 Sunday nights, and then that Wednesday, the 9th of October, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
The bishop will be here. I've got to just send an email to his secretary. He's on vacation this month, and when he gets back, to give me a call to see if we can.
We got to figure out how to
get another bishop in here.
How to get another bishop to join the service.
That'll be wonderful, and I'm sure he can come up with somebody.
Because with the sacraments, and confirmation is a sacrament, each person gets individual prayer.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So you couldn't do prayer and then anoint everybody with oil. Each person has to be prayed over. And right now we have adults and children. It's over 110 people, so we're going to need another set of hands.
Yep, and it has to be a bishop.
Yes.
That'll be wonderful. That'll be wonderful. And then all the other stuff is kicking off. Bible studies, Wednesday night teachings. It all starts to pick up speed.
Yes, we're getting ready to kick in a high gear now. So this week in the rolling Loops before services, you'll start to see Wednesday night teaching. That starts September the 11th. And here, you don't have to register, but just letting you know that that's coming up. The men's Low Country Boil is coming up that same week on the 13th. Baptism starts on the 8th. A lot of things are happening that second week of September.
That's when it really starts rolling.
Crosswalk, family ministry, where it's conjunction between the church and the school. We bring families together for fun and fellowship and family discipleship. That's on Monday night, the 9th. So a lot going on that week.
Also
Going home is that week.
Going home is that Saturday. Planning for end of life decision making. That's an important thing Saturday morning.
That's a really important thing that we do. We do it annually right now, but it might be something that we have to do twice a year.
I thought didn't we do it in the spring?
That's really important. I think last year we just did it once because of how we're Easter landed.
Yeah, we'll have to go twice a year on that because that's you can't have a huge crowd of people in that.
Right.
It loses.
It's more workshop style, and you can ask questions.
And then you've
there
got
are always a lot of questions. With
Healing After Loss, Sunday afternoons for folks who have had a loved one who died, and that they want it to be a gap of 6 to 8, 10 months between the loss and taking the course so that some of the emotions have subsided. That's a real intimate time, a real special ministry
a small
that
group.
Bev and some of the others work with on that. That's a really important one. So there's, those kinds of, it's kind of a niche, the going home, the healing after loss. They're addressing specific areas of a person's life, of a person's spiritual walk. And as you get specific and personal, you can't go with numbers. There's a certain degree of intimacy you have to preserve in that. So all that's coming. So there's lots to do, and it's all in the booklet.
It's all in the magazine, digital magazine that we put out this fall. Everything is in there. It's kind of the one-stop shop for us. And we'll also put things in the e-news.
People get to that through the e-news. They can get
links
or
in the
go
e-news.
to the web page. So there's no reason not to be informed as to what's coming in a timely basis. So and how to connect with it is in there too, so that you can be involved and not be uninformed of the things that you really could benefit from. And there's a lot of them.
What do you think? Unpack going home a little bit. How long have we done that? We took a little bit of a break, but
20
when
years.
did you start that?
20 years ago, probably.
And was that when you would meet with families?
This church is, we had to get into that kind of stuff when the church started growing, and we were growing with people who didn't have a prayer book background. They didn't really have an understanding of how burial is done in the Anglican Church. And they were, a loved one died, and they were just caught totally off guard, totally unprepared, hadn't thought about it at all. So to have a template of what you need to be thinking about, and we had a handout 5 wishes that helped for people, men and women, older people, to plan their services. Things like, if you die, who do you contact? And more than that, how do you contact them? And that's because so many people now, they very transient, they quit with landlines. How do you contact those people? Who are the people you want to have contacted? Because some of the ones you might have wanted to have contacted have passed away, or you've just scratched them off your list for one reason, and there's somebody else that you want on there instead. Obituaries. What is your obituary? What papers do you want to have it put in, if any? Do you want to be cremated or have a whole body burial? And if so, where you want to be buried? And have you made arrangements for that kind of stuff? If you're going to be if you're a vet and you want to be in a national cemetery, you just don't walk up to the door and say, "Here I am." There's a lot of planning that goes on with that. What about wills? And have you made preparations in that? If you want to have pallbearers in a service, who are they? What songs? Who do you want to have participate in the service? There's a lot to all of that, and Elizabeth and Dave work hard on that. But much of it can be done ahead of time, so that when the person dies, all of a sudden emotions are all over the place. So decision making is
hard.
It's real hard, and you make mistakes. You leave people out. You just don't think about it. You just don't think about it. So those kinds of things that are hugely important when they come up, much of that can be done ahead of time. The whole thing about pre-planning funerals, pre-planning funeral arrangements, and you can go to a funeral home if they're part of the funeral association, and you can pay for your funeral, and that the price you pay today, you might die 15 years from now. If you didn't lock in a price, it's going to be higher then, but they'll guarantee the price wherever you are in the country.
Wow.
It really is something. So there's much to be gained by pre-planning. Much to be gained by that.
I think it's a gift for your family as well.
Oh, yeah.
Huge gift for your family. Especially the conversations, all of those conversations about the service and, what your wishes are, but the financial piece of it.
Yeah, the wills.
A lot of people
do you have a living will? Organ donation? I mean, those kinds of questions need to be answered. And somebody's got to answer them.
Right.
So it's better for the people involved to do that when they're clear-headed and they're not mourning.
Right.
Particularly if something happens like that and catches people off guard.
So there is a limit to the number that can participate in that because it is a workshop style, but their registrations are still open. And then you'll get information about how to pick up packets. They're here at the chapel, so they can be picked up in advance because you have some pre-work to do.
That's right. And the pre-work's really important if you're going to maximize the time because there are professional people come in there. Funeral home folks and that, there'll be professional people there for that to help with it. So, but you need to go ahead and do the pre-planning so you know the specific questions you've got to ask the professionals that are there. They'll give a general presentation, but then it's an open for discussion. That's why you got to limit the size of it. So we're on the front side of a very, very busy calendar between now and Christmas time. And it's wonderful. The calendar is hugely busy, but it's a big congregation. And you might be involved in your little thing, but there's somebody else in this one, or somebody else in that one, or somebody else in that one. And when you're dealing with thousands of people, there's a lot of offerings there. So don't be overwhelmed with that.
No, the intention is not for everybody to do everything.
I remember when
we don't have room for that.
Becky and I moved down here in '96, and Mama came in '97, and before she came, we were looking at what to do, places for her to live and all that, and she visited Sun City, and she said that was not for her. She said they went through all the activities out there. Mama said that would be too much pressure. She said it'd be like living on a cruise ship. There's stuff going all the time, and she said she'd never be able to enjoy herself because she'd feel guilty about not doing this and that and all that. So she bought a little home in River Oaks, and she ended up being busier not in Sun City than she would have been if she was in Sun City. It was amazing.
But that was her choice.
It was her choice. There wasn't any. She didn't feel the pressure of you got to sign up for this club and that club. So the point is, don't feel pressured to be in everything. Be faithful in worship, in Bible study, and there's lots of Bible studies and stuff going on with that. So worship, Bible studies, prayer, and then serving somewhere or another, helping somebody else. It's not about you. And you got lots of opportunities to serve.
Do you know that I got an email last night about 10 o'clock from the food bank? 402 guests. Did you hear that number? Mm-hmm. 402 guests went through distribution yesterday.
Golly day.
And I think it's probably because school started. And
now how you hook school to that?
Well, because families are having to spend money on school stuff.
Oh, okay. Good
and
thinking.
there's more of a need there. But 402 guests came through just yesterday. So the email was a desperate cry for the basic staples that we ask for just about every week. But this week it's a real need for cereal, canned tuna, canned chicken, pasta sauce, and chunky soup. So our shelves are bare. 402. So I don't know if they were scrambling to get some more bags together as people continue, as the line continued to come through, but that's a huge need.
And I notice people bringing stacks of empty bags, but the thing is, the way they get their bags is you bring a bag with something in it, and then they give away what's in it, and they use the bag for something else. Don't just bring in a pile of empty bags. Put something in them.
Bring some cereal, canned tuna, canned chicken, soup, chunky soup, and pasta sauce. Yes, that would be.
But it is. I'm always
really
amazed
important.
at how many people come to food bank, and you live in an area like this. You wouldn't think. You just.
I think that's
wouldn't
actually a new
think.
high. It's 402.
And the folks at Second Helpings. I mean, there's a lot of people who make that food bank possible. The number of volunteers it takes, and God's gifts, where they give away all that. Wow. We are blessed to have a very active congregation and a very generous congregation. So, praise God. Praise God. So with all this starting up, you got enough to do?
I think so.
Idle hands.
I think so.
Devil's workshop, and I'm trying to save you.
Thank
from
you
the devil.
so much.
Trying to save you from the devil.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
No, lots of good stuff. Working on training next week for staff for safe
Safeguarding.
churches.
Mm-hmm.
So the diocese has updated all of their safeguarding for working with children. So working on some of that.
And that's,
So important.
we live in a strange time.
Mm-hmm.
There's evil about. That's about the only thing you can say about it. There's evil about. And the church is not exempt from all that. So the training and awareness is very important.
I'm very appreciative of the emphasis the diocese has put on this.
Mm-hmm.
They spent a year with a committee working on updating, improving the policies.
Just important. I don't know. You can't stress that one enough.
No.
And you don't really realize how important it is until something happens and you haven't done what you should have done.
Right. So we are on top of that.
Good. Mm-hmm. So what else you need? Anything I need to know? I hope not.
A lot of people came up to me in this last week, and they really enjoyed your story about Mercado.
Why? Where do you reckon that
And
is?
suggested that you need to write a book
Perhaps not.
about all of those little stories that are tucked in. I think the reason is why that story resonated with people. It was quite humorous.
True. And that's
True and humorous.
yes. A lot of life you got to laugh at it. You really do.
But I think it also showed people that every family has quirky things.
I don't know that you would call an invisible dog quirky, would you?
Well, I was being kind. I don't know what word accurately describes an imaginary dog.
With all the stuff that's going on now, imaginary dog is pretty peaceful. You were talking about that leash with the collar on the end of it like that? See that? Somebody could walk down the street with that and other people wouldn't even turn a head.
Oh, look at that. That's fun.
Oh, there's so much strange stuff to see. Gracious goodness. But back in that day and time, there wasn't as much bizarre behavior.
Okay, but in it was just hidden.
Well, maybe that's
there.
it. Maybe that's
hidden.
it, yeah.
On Saturday, I was at Gracetime. You were at Historic Campus, and you told a story there that was pretty humorous. That you came out of the pulpit and you're like, I just thought of something.
Oh, yeah.
Share that one.
About the lady with the playpen?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a pack and play.
It was a pack and play.
Yeah. She was a young mother and had twins. Only children, first crack out, had twins, and they were like 2, something like that. And that she'd had the baby shower, and she received the pack and play as a gift in the baby shower. So she thanked everybody, you know. So now 2 years later, she writes another thank you note to the lady who gave her the pack and play.
So this is the thank you note after.
2 years after. And she thanked her for the pack and play because she could sit in the middle of the pack and play and her children couldn't get to her for hours.
She was using the pack.
She was in the pack and play. Yes, sir.
You know, just a little bit of space to
just a little bit of
herself in the
space for a little
chaos.
bit of time. Whoa, twin 2-year-olds, that'd be tough. That'd be tough. But it is, you know, memories just kind of, and you don't know what sparks it or something like that. You know, they say that when the brain, people are operating on your brain, that if they hit certain places, that it will trigger memories and responses, and people will start talking about stuff.
While they're having surgery?
Yeah, there's not a environmental thing that does, but that your brain has got, it's like this giant hard drive. It's got all this stuff in there, and you don't know what triggers it, but it's like you never forget. It's there. You just can't recall it. That's the thing. You just can't recall it. So every now and then things pop up. So I did, when I was thinking about that, working on that sermon, and thinking about Mr. Mack and Uncle Harry and all that. Those guys, that was a different generation, very different generation of people. To fight in World War I, they were in the Merchant Marines, not in the shooting. But the Merchant Marines had huge death losses, and in World War I and World War II, because they were carrying the cargo, and those ships were targets just like anything else, maybe more so than anything else. The U-boats, that was the first thing they were after, was the supplies going to England, trying to sink it down. And one of the things about it was that they had lived through that and lived, and then behind that they were adults raising children in the Great Depression. Now that's hard sledding. That's hard sledding. So they'd had this double whammy, and because they're just blue collar people, the idea of the Roaring '20s and all that kind of stuff, they didn't have that kind of stuff. That was up north hoop-de-doops and stuff like that. The people in the South were gutting it, and that's what they were. And so they found humor in little things, you know. I remember Mr. Mackey would sit on the front porch, had an awning. First off, the house just had some steps going up in there, so they saved up money and built a front porch on the house. Had a big aluminum awning coming over it. And he would sit out there and had one of these kind of lounge things that 3 or 4 people could sit on and go back and forth like that.
Metal glider.
Yeah, metal glider there, and had the matching chairs and tables and all that kind of stuff, you know. And he would sit out there and just think, you know. He didn't smoke, and he never wore. Men shouldn't wear shorts. He didn't ever wear shorts. So he would sit out there on Saturday and Sunday afternoon mainly, but any evening, but Sunday afternoon, he'd sit out there and he would take his shirt off because it's hot. There was no air conditioner or something like that. And he had on one of those undershirts that didn't have arms in it, you know, sleeveless undershirts. And he'd sit out there and he'd have his dress pants on and his shoes and his socks. And he'd roll his dress pants up to his knees. And and his socks would be up this high, and you'd see the bottom of the garters going down that hold the socks up because it didn't have elastic or something like that. And he'd sit out there and just hold court, just talk to anybody, and relatives would come by and all that. Uncle Harry would wear shorts every now and then, but no, he didn't believe in shorts. Not at all. Had a blue dash. That's the old car.
Was that the one with the big trunk?
No, that was Uncle Harry. No, this Mr. Mack had a blue dash. And back in those days, they must have painted the cars different. Now they didn't have a garage, but you could, if you rubbed against the blue would come off on your hands like that. And it was a blue Nash. He drove that. Granny couldn't drive, but he drove that blue Nash back and forth to the power plant.
So did you intentionally rub your hand across it to make
No,
it
but
turn?
if you went down the side of the house, there was a fence over here. The yard wasn't all that big. There was a fence over here, and the blue Nash was parked right here. And then there was little gustrums going down the side of the house, and so you had to
squeeze through.
Squeeze through to get to the backyard, and so you always came through kind of.
With a blue streak.
If you went the other side of the house, it was narrow over there too. But that's where the back door to the kitchen was. You went down the steps. At the bottom of the steps is where Granny had her wash machine. It was an outside wash machine, and the garden hose would go into that. And in the backyard was the clothesline that Mr. Mack had built for her. And they were just so proud of that washing machine, and because nobody else. I mean, that was just one of those things. And it would just whatever came out of it, it would just drain in the yard. But you didn't worry about that. And it had the rollers on the top, where after you wash it, you ran through it, wring it out, then you go put it on the clothesline. Different time.
Mm-hmm.
Very different time. Good time, though. Good time. Chickens in the backyard.
No, those are making a comeback. Nathan has a coop. We need to ask him about the progress. How many are still surviving?
He ordered 10.
Oh, there he is. How many are still surviving?
Listen, one of them flew away,
One of them flew away.
but I'm assuming it's presumed dead.
I would assume it's dead too.
Right. He said,
So how many do you have?
I have 17.
17. He's doing pretty good.
yeah, that won't last long. That won't last
We'll
long.
have to ask for periodic updates on the chickens.
Mr. Mack had that chicken coop back there, and he had some artificial eggs. And when the chickens were they had this roost
Yeah.
in the coop, and when they had their nests up in there, and he put the artificial eggs up in the nest up there to give the chickens the idea to lay eggs and all. He swore it worked.
I have heard that before.
Well,
Did y'all get eggs?
he believed it. Oh yeah, he got eggs out of there.
There you go.
Sure, he didn't have a garden. He just had the chickens. Other people had gardens. He didn't have one.
Yeah, chickens are a big thing now.
Yeah, I don't think he would have thought. He didn't think in terms of organic.
Can you eat it?
Yeah, that's it. This
Can you eat it?
is surviving. Yeah.
All right,
Time.
give us a parting thought.
A line from that sermon is a good parting thought.
Okay. It was a great
Disobedience
reminder
always robs us, whereas obedience always enriches us.
for everybody. Say it again.
Disobedience always robs us, whereas obedience always enriches us. So,
I loved how you, at the Grace Time service, made everybody or helped everyone to understand that as a church, really every member of the church is a godparent
that's right.
because it's a family. And you're a godparent to the children that are in the church.
And the younger generations.
And the younger generations.
Yeah, but it could be.
Could be.
We have multiple generations here. So we all have a responsibility to each other, particularly those younger than us, however you might describe young.
So great perspective on the church family, not just nuclear or our
And then
families.
the next sermon after this is called, I'm working on, it's called The Blended Family. And it's comparing the church to a blended family.
Okay. But you are not preaching over here this week, right?
No, the next week.
Okay. Jonathan will be over here doing, I think it's part 2 of forgiveness. And Nathan will be on the historic campus doing part 2 of the Bible, how to study the Bible.
Okay.
So you get a vacation, I guess.
I'm doing something. I don't remember what it is right now, but I'll be somewhere around.
Somewhere. All right. Don't forget the food bank. You can drop off donations here during the week or bring to services. And remember those staples that we need, especially this week: canned tuna, canned chicken, cereal, chunky soup, and pasta sauce.
Yep. And get in that magazine that's on the webpage and sign up. Strengthening Your Journey and all these other things are coming. That they're healing after loss and the going home. Those are big. So lots going on.
All right. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.
Thanks be to God. See you when I see you. Blessings to you.